Do we control our destinies, or are our paths already written? That's the question we're exploring today. This question is not merely a riddle posed by philosophers, but a profound inquiry that impacts our everyday lives. It's a debate that has spanned centuries across cultures and societies. Do we have free will, the ability to choose our actions freely? Or is everything preordained, dictated by the laws of nature, our genetics, or perhaps even fate? This is the enigma of destiny, a fascinating dichotomy between free will and determinism. It's a topic that has intrigued thinkers, scientists, and laymen alike, and today we're diving deep into its depths. We'll explore the philosophies, the arguments, the evidence, and the counter-arguments, all in a bid to understand the paths we tread. So let's dive into the fascinating world of philosophy and thought. Imagine a world where you're the master of your fate. This is the essence of free will, championed by thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre. Free will, as a concept, is all about choices. It's about waking up each morning and deciding what you're going to do with your day. It's about deciding to be kind, to be brave, to be anything you want to be. It's the belief that we are not just puppets dancing on the strings of fate or genetics, but rather we have the power to shape our own destinies. Jean-Paul Sartre, a French philosopher known for his existentialist views, was a strong advocate of this school of thought. For Sartre, existence precedes essence. In other words, we exist first, and then it's up to us to give meaning to our lives. He believed that we are fundamentally free and that every action we take is a reflection of that freedom. Imagine you're at a coffee shop and you're deciding between a latte and a cappuccino. According to Sartre, the choice you make isn't dictated by your taste buds or your past experiences. It's a conscious, free decision. You're not a latte drinker or a cappuccino drinker until you choose to be. And the next day, you're free to choose all over again. But it's not all about coffee. Sartre's philosophy extends to the bigger choices in our lives as well. Choosing a career, choosing a partner, choosing to stand up for what's right. These are all expressions of our free will. And with this freedom comes immense responsibility, because if we are truly free, then we are also responsible for our actions and their consequences. This is where the concept of bad faith comes in. Sartre coined this term to describe the act of denying our own freedom, of pretending that we're bound by circumstances or conventions. It's like saying, I have to be a doctor because my parents were doctors. No, Sartre would argue, you don't have to be anything. You choose to be. Of course, this idea can be both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because it means that there's no pre-written script for our lives. We're not bound by fate or destiny. We can be the authors of our own stories. But it's also terrifying because it means that we can't blame anyone else for our choices. We can't hide behind the excuse of, that's just how I am. Now, imagine a world where every event, including your actions, are determined by previous ones. This is determinism, supported by philosophers like Baruch Spinoza. Baruch Spinoza, a 17th century Dutch philosopher, believed in a deterministic universe where everything happens out of necessity. For Spinoza, God or nature was the ultimate cause of everything that exists and happens. He argued that human beings, like everything else in the universe, are part of this divine order. Our thoughts, feelings, and actions, no matter how spontaneous they might seem, are the results of this intricate cosmic dance. The idea of determinism is also supported by the 19th century philosopher David Hume. He proposed that every event in the universe is linked to a cause, and nothing happens without a reason. Hume believed that our actions are not free, but are the result of our desires, beliefs, and character, which are shaped by our past experiences and genetic makeup. These philosophical perspectives are complemented by ideas from the realm of science. Let's dive into the world of genetics and neuroscience. In the field of genetics, the concept of determinism takes on a different, yet similar form. Our genetic makeup, the DNA sequences that make us who we are, is determined at the moment of conception. These genes, in many ways, dictate our physical characteristics, predispositions to certain diseases, and even aspects of our personality. This genetic determinism suggests that much of who we are is determined before we're even born. Neuroscience, on the other hand, explores how our brain activity determines our thoughts, feelings, and actions. When we decide to move our hand, it might feel like a free choice. However, neuroscientists have found that the decision-making process in our brain starts before we become aware of our intention to move. This suggests that our conscious decisions might just be the tip of the iceberg, with a vast network of unconscious neural activity driving our actions. However, it's important to note that while genetics and neuroscience provide compelling evidence for determinism, they don't deny the existence of randomness and unpredictability in the natural world. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, for example, suggest that at the smallest scales, the universe might not be deterministic after all. So what does all this mean for us? If determinism is true, does that mean we're just puppets in a cosmic play with the strings of our lives pulled by the invisible hands of causality? Well, not necessarily. Many philosophers and scientists believe in a form of determinism that allows for some degree of freedom and responsibility. This view, known as compatibilism, suggests that we can be free and determined at the same time. In this deterministic universe, it seems like we're just actors following a script. But is it that simple? This question has been the subject of fierce debates among great minds. From geniuses of science to philosophers, the pendulum of opinion swings wildly when it comes to free will and determinism. Take Albert Einstein, for instance. Known for his theory of relativity, Einstein once stated, "Everything is determined, the beginning as well as the end, by forces over which we have no control." This statement seems to lean towards determinism, suggesting that our lives are like a well-defined equation, every variable accounted for, every outcome predestined. Now, let's pivot to another titan of science, Stephen Hawking. Hawking, despite his scientific background, argued for a kind of free will. He proposed that since we can't predict everything about the universe, we might as well have free will. In other words, if we can't know every detail about the future, we are free to shape it. Let's turn the pages back to Immanuel Kant, a philosopher who found a middle ground. Kant proposed that free will and determinism could coexist in what he called compatibilism. According to Kant, our actions are determined in the physical world, but in the realm of reason and morality, we are free. And then there's Friedrich Nietzsche, a staunch advocate of free will. He believed that we are completely free, that we can and should shape our own destinies. In his words, "The doer alone learneth." He suggested that we learn and grow through our actions, implying a strong belief in the power of free will. As we traverse through the labyrinth of these contrasting opinions, we begin to grasp the complexity of this debate. Each perspective shines a light on a different facet of the human experience: our control over fate, our ability to shape the future, our moral responsibilities. These contrasting views add layers to our understanding of this complex debate. Beyond philosophy, these theories have profound implications on our society and ethics. Let's consider this. If determinism is true and our actions are predetermined, how does this affect our understanding of moral responsibility? Can we justly hold someone accountable for their actions if they were, in essence, destined to commit them? It's a bit like punishing a domino for falling, isn't it? In contrast, if free will exists, then we are the authors of our own destinies. We can be held accountable for our actions because we had the ability to choose differently. But does this mean that every individual is fully responsible for their circumstances? If so, does this not neglect the influence of societal factors, upbringing, and genetics on our lives and decisions? Such questions have significant implications for our societal norms and legal systems. Take, for instance, the justice system. It's built on the premise that individuals are responsible for their actions and can therefore be punished or rewarded accordingly. But if determinism holds true, this whole foundation could be called into question. Similarly, consider social inequality. If free will is real, then it's easy to argue that those who are less fortunate simply haven't made the right choices. But is it fair to ignore the role of systemic issues such as poverty and discrimination in shaping people's lives? This debate also extends to areas like mental health. If we believe in determinism, then mental health issues could be seen as simply the result of predetermined factors like genetics. and not a matter of choice or personal weakness. The free will versus determinism debate is far from being a mere theoretical exercise. It shapes our societal norms, influences our laws, and affects our views on responsibility, punishment, and fairness. It forces us to confront difficult questions about blame, justice, and the very nature of human agency. It seems this debate isn't just theoretical, but deeply personal and societal. So, do we control our destinies, or are our paths already written? We've dived deep into the oceans of thought, exploring the two currents of free will and determinism, both equally compelling and yet in stark contrast. We've walked alongside philosophical giants like Jean-Paul Sartre, Baruch Spinoza, and David Hume, each offering their unique perspectives on this age-old debate. We've considered the scientific lens, understanding how genetics and neuroscience might suggest a predetermined path. We've also reflected on the societal and ethical implications of this discourse, questioning our notions of moral responsibility and societal norms. In essence, we've navigated through a labyrinth of thoughts, ideas, and theories, each one bringing us closer to understanding the enigma of destiny. Yet, despite our exploration, the question remains: are we the authors of our life stories, or mere characters in an already written play? It's a question that continues to intrigue us. What do you think? We'd love to hear your thoughts.